All right, good morning, and it looks like we've got a hiccup already. So, Cameron, do me a favor and introduce the show topic so I can do a little quick tech check.
Well, we're doing a WTF CNN, and this one's going to kind of be a hodgepodge of a couple of different things. Well, we're doing a WTF CNN. AT&T's like some $150 million in debt, and they own the CNN building, and they're going to lease it, sell it. Like it's not entirely clear, other than AT&T is $150 million in debt.
Okay, clarification. For one, for starters, the report that AT&T was $150 in debt, that's from November 14th, so that number may have changed since the last reporting on it. And it's not $150 million in debt, Cameron. It's $150 billion.
Oh, wow. Did I really just do that? Did I under-exaggerate by accident for emphasis?
You underrated it, yes.
Wow. Wow. There we go.
$150 billion. And in fairness, I had to flip back over to the article real quick to double check and make sure that's as reported by Fox News as of November 14th, and we'll get back to that article in a minute. So the Atlanta Journal-Constitution has an update printed on June 29th of I'm going back too far. July 2nd, 2021. AT&T sells and will lease the CNN Center. So, frankly, what got me on this one this morning, I stumbled across a Tim Pool video where he was talking about it looks like CNN's planning to sell AT&T is looking to sell the CNN Center. And I went poking around, and I've got this report from November 14th. So, 6-8 months ago, AT&T reportedly 8 months ago, looking to sell CNN after hit from hating Trump, right? And, of course, CNN does not have Donald Trump to kick around anymore, and their ratings will take a hit. Charlie Gasparino told Tucker Carlson, given the current projected presidential election results. And remember, that's November 14th. So there was still, at that point, they were still arguing about whether or not the election was worth arguing about. But we can pop back even further as early as at least as early as June 29th of last year. AT&T was looking to sell the CNN Center in downtown Atlanta. And so the thing about that, AT&T acquired CNN when it bought Warner Media. Is that right? Warner Media? Time Warner, rather. Warner Media, yeah. And Warner Media became a subsidiary of AT&T, and Warner Media operates CNN. CNN's done nothing but lose money for them. Right? It's a sucking hole. Let's not forget, for years and years and years, CNN's ratings were artificially inflated by the number of people that were involuntarily watching it in every airport across America. CNN backed out of that deal. CNN stopped that contract early last year. Now, the idea that CNN suddenly found that it wasn't earning enough return on investment on paying the airports to carry its coverage in order to artificially inflate its viewership numbers, in order to artificially inflate its advertising valuations, is damning in and of itself. And I mean, this is not one of those hyperbolic statements talking about, to make fun of CNN for having low viewership, given the scope and scale of the business that it is. It is literally the case that it lost around 50% of its viewership at the same time. Right? It took a huge hit to its ratings around the same time as that happened. Now, In fairness, not all of that loss was just switching off the airports. Some of that loss was Don Lemon sucks and Brian Stelter sucks, and people don't want to watch that garbage.
Brian Stelter sucks? No. He blows. No, didn't work. Okay.
No,
I'm sorry.
You're better than that.
Fair enough. The thing that's fascinating to me is the overall story of CNN. Because, like, if you remove the last 20 years from CNN, okay, and just go back to the other side of the turn of the millennia,
then you still have an America?
Well, not just that. I mean, specifically, like, when Ted Turner came along, it was like, I think we can do a 24-hour news network. Everybody thought he was crazy, and he proved them all wrong. It's fascinating in general to see what has happened to the Turner Broadcasting Corporation, because, like, permanently playing the Braves, everybody thought was a terrible idea, ended up being a great idea.
Yep.
Going heavy into classic movies and going heavy into professional wrestling. Yep. and doing all these things. Ted was right over and over and over again, and really built this entire media juggernaut, and somehow managed to just piss it all away. I mean, at what point in time does the ship of Theseus in reverse occur, where you're this trendsetter and you're brilliant, and then you destroy that which you have made? Like, why don't you just go plant a cornfield, and about 2 weeks before harvest, just take a couple of cans of gasoline and go light it all on fire? Because why enjoy the fruit of your labor? It just...
Well, and part of that math is, okay, CNN was founded in CNN was founded in 1980, and it moved to the CNN building in Atlanta in 87. So, when did Rush Limbaugh first go on the air as a conservative talk show host?
I forget the exact year. I want to say 88.
And then Fox News was founded in the early 90s, mid 90s.
I want to say Fox News launched in 97.
I think that sounds about right. So, but as of 87, journalism generally has always been left-leaning. People mistook the consensus between all of the left-leaning media platforms as objective reporting. They just assumed that, whatever they're all saying the same thing, so they're all saying the same facts. But really, while they might have all agreed on the same facts, what they were reporting was the same opinion. And that was true across all the news. Journalism has never been objective. Journalists have never been objective. The idea of objective journalism, it is a standard that has been approached on rare occasion by a scant few. But it has always been left-leaning. It has always been an instrument of the power elite. And it has never been the case that it was purely objective journalism. But when CNN was first founded, there was no counter-narrative. There was nobody that was presenting the news unbiased or right-biased. For they had a good 10-year run where they could lie to you openly and be completely unchallenged on it. When Fox News first entered the scene, it started blowing them away because it was presenting a counter-narrative. And today, Fox News is not your friend. That was much less true at its inception. Now, Fox, unfortunately, like all large organizations, has begun to slump toward Bethlehem and its slow left-leaning. Guys, Fox News pretends to be your conservative friend and dazzles you with all those shiny, pretty legs sticking out from under the tables that are extra high so that they can put the sexy women on tall stools and show off a scandalous amount of fucking leg under deliciously short skirts to distract you from the fact that they are essentially just a sub-puppet of the furthest left of the right. They are at best a moderate squish network.
Yeah, the only thing that they can really claim is that they give Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity, and Tucker Carlson prime time, and that in and of itself doesn't mean much outside of the fact that they give them the airtime. So, but anyhow, $150 billion in debt. I'm going to ask a somewhat rhetorical question, even though I actually want you to answer it.
How do you fucking sleep at night? Oh, I'm sorry. What?
That's yeah, right. I'd be doing crushed up Pepto-Bismol like cocaine if I had that much debt. Ooh, I'd be sick to my stomach.
You got a bottle of Tums, a mirror, and a razor blade. Let's do this.
Right. Yeah, you got to get the McDonald's straws. They're slightly wider. Anyhow.
Well, because you certainly don't have any $100 bills to roll up.
But how do they stay open? Like, that is, when businesses lose money, they fail. They close.
Correct.
So, how does CNN stay open?
The best I can come up with is there are a couple of mechanisms that I can speculate on. So CNN, their primary revenue source should be the sale of advertising, in theory. Now, if your viewership is low, that affects the valuation of the advertising you sell, right? So the more viewers you have, the more valuable your advertising is. And that's all based on the calculation of the return on investment. That said, kind of like real estate, in theory, a home should be worth what it's worth. But in practice, a home is worth what the other homes around it are theoretically worth by comparison. So you may buy a house for $100,000 and the neighbor's house is identical to yours, but they managed to get a deal where they happen to sell it for $200,000. That doesn't mean that your house is suddenly worth $200 or even that it will sell for $200, but there's a high degree of probability that its value has just increased, maybe to $150. And these are obviously just round numbers that I'm pulling out of my ass for the sake of the explanation. Oh, Alex, that one's for you, baby. Alex said Trump should buy CNN and rename it back to TNN. That's gold.
That would just be... that would be awesome.
So I gave him the top comment for that one. Oh, damn, you broke my train of thought. Where was... Okay, so CNN's going to make its money on revenue. It's going to draw its revenue primarily from advertising budget. The valuation on the advertising is based on viewership. Generally, however, with something like CNN, with an entity like that, they're selling advertising during peak election seasons to Democrat candidates. And so there's a new piece of the math there where the individual Democrats and the Democrat National Committee have a vested interest in the success of CNN as a friendly news platform, knowing that CNN will do things like, just not report on Hunter Biden's laptop. They'll just flat out lie in their news reporting on, for example, Trump's active support of white supremacists. They'll pretend like that's a foregone conclusion or a matter of fact. Or they'll report on critical race theory by saying something like, critical race theory acknowledges the fact that America is plagued by systemic racism. And it's like, no. You can shit right up your nose with your snuck premise. Critical race theory presupposes the claim that, right? It doesn't recognize a thing which is not a foregone conclusion. So you can't have your snuck premise, shitbag. But anyway, so if the Democrats and the various groups like Alex Bleeping Jones, by the way, good morning, brother. And a quick good morning to Steve, other Steve, proper Steve, Alex, and other Alex. It's good to see you guys in the show this morning, especially you, Jones, because I know your sleep schedule's funny and we don't catch you as often as we'd like to. So you've got these Democrats and leftist organizations who are actively interested in keeping CNN alive, and not just alive, but prospering sufficiently that they can continue to espouse their messaging. Essentially doing the propaganda work of active brainwashing. So hold on just a second, Cameron. So instead of the valuation being based on the number of viewers available by rating, then the price on the ad can be set based on the amount of money that the political organization wants to infuse into CNN as a business. And where this gets, again, I am speculating. I am not making a direct accusation. I do not know that this is going on. I have reasonable suspicion and adequate anecdote to support the speculation, but it's an important distinction here. What it looks like is that essentially CNN and organizations like it operate as a sort of money exchanger, not a money launderer. I'm not accusing CNN of being as bad as Planned Parenthood. They're slightly less evil than that. The Planned Parenthood situation, that's just pure money laundering. Democrats donate to Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood donates to Democrats. Democrats send tax money through the law into Planned Parenthood, and Planned Parenthood puts that tax money back into the Democrat National Committee, and the whole cycle continues so that they can wash taxpayer dollars out of citizens' pockets into Planned Parenthood, not even so much to support the eugenics projects of Planned Parenthood, but more just to launder that money back into Democrat pockets so they can essentially just stick their hands directly in the American taxpayer's ass. I'm not going so far as to say CNN does that, but what they may be doing in order to boost up that revenue, apart from just taking money straight from George Soros, is essentially converting U.S. dollars, almost like a currency exchange, directly into U.S. voter counts, so that the return on investment that's used as the valuation number by the political activists is not how much money do we expect to earn off of the business increase from the advertisement that we're running on CNN, but rather how much influence can we improve our voter base by through actively supporting CNN, not just having CNN put out our commercials, our advertisements for our politicians, but while we're supporting CNN, because they're being supported by the DNC, then they will also alter all of their news coverage to support our ideological positions.
Well, there's two basic problems with that. The first one is that CNN is a publicly traded company. They've got a legal requirement to make their best effort to turn a profit.
Correct. The CEO has a fiduciary responsibility to profit by the board.
And then there's the other side of it, the fact that political campaign contributions are all fixed. So you've literally got the prices fixed for what you can pay and how much you can donate. And then there's the whole sticky wicket of an in-kind contribution. Because on paper, CNN, at&t, whatever, all of it is losing money. And what normally happens with big companies like this is they declare bankruptcy and try and get rid of their debt, or they completely restructure, get bought by another company. CNN is so artificially inflated for what you're describing to be happening. Like, it'd have to be some kind of a paper trail. They'd have to run afoul of a whole bunch of laws, at least one would think. Now, that doesn't mean a damn thing, because Hillary Clinton deleted 30,000 emails, and because James Comey felt like, well, she wasn't trying to do anything bad. None of those were a felony. So I'm not saying anything bad would ever happen to CNN, but the evidence of the kind of thing that you're describing would have to be there, because they have to report a prospectus, right? They can't be a publicly traded company unless their books are open for people to examine at least once a quarter.
Sort of. So here's the problem with that assumption is the speculation that I've just made about the conversion of dollars into voters is ephemeral and theoretical. So for one, the party can easily argue that, well, I mean, our candidate is the product we're selling, and so people don't actually buy a candidate with dollars, apart from them donating, which is protected by the First Amendment. Political donations, capped or otherwise, are speech. Now, there's a whole other argument there about the limitation on. I mean, like you said, it's fixed, but guys, it's fixed by whom? The Congress? Is that the same Congress where we're allowed to make political donations because it's been held by the Supreme Court to be speech, that making donations to a candidate is speech, and now you're telling me that there's a fixed limit on how much I can donate? As in, are you telling me that Congress has made a law abridging my freedom of speech? So that's a whole nother conversation that's worth exploring at a later time, perhaps. But as far as proving the in-kind donation concern or anything of that sort, we're talking about plucking the numbers out of the nebulous penumbra of the arguable return on investment. Now, as to your other point on the fiduciary responsibility of a corporate executive officer, all he's got to do is show that in the books they are at whatever level of profit the business plan requires them to meet.
Yeah, but you have to have at least some reason for that profit to exist. If CNN...
Yeah, you sell advertising. Well, if you're selling the advertising and you can evaluate the advertising based on a non-financial ROI, then all you have to do is inflate the invoice on the individual advertisements to the groups that want to support you directly in order to cover the spread on whatever you might be short to make your claim to the board.
Okay, but running with a narrative like there was an attempted coup and insurrection on January 6th, for example.
Right.
I understand that serves a political agenda.
That statement is making that statement as a statement of fact is a crime. But go on.
But what I was going to say was Project Veritas has proven that CNN does come at things with a political agenda, that they're not motivated by profit, but motivated by ideology. And that would even be fine, in my opinion, as long as they were honest about the ideology that they were selling. I mean, again, going back to Rush Limbaugh, the thing that gave him so much credibility is he never tried to hide his bias. Instead,
right.
He wore it on his sleeve, so you could accept or reject whatever premise he put forward. He just happened to be right a whole lot of the time because he was Rush fucking Limbaugh. And I don't know, man. It just, I'd be really interested to see where the other part of that loop is, because how many of these corporations are in bed with other corporations? Like, just as an example, at&t being short $150 billion. Man, that's damn near like go to jail levels of, I don't even think you could call it incompetence. It would be malfeasance. You can't just lose $150 billion. That's not how it works.
You can if a Democrat's running your books.
I don't know, man. Rumsfeld lost trillions of dollars on September 10th. We don't talk about that all that often.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, and no huge fan of Donald Rumsfeld, but he reported the loss of trillions of dollars. He never actually said he was the one who lost it, but when you're the SecDef and the Pentagon comes up that far in the red, like, the buck stops with you.
Ooh, I just had to drop a ban hammer on a bot that was attacking us from Twitch, trying to sell me followers.
Gotcha.
Unacceptable.
So, I mean, WTF, CNN, how do you even still exist? I think that's really the big thing. And, I mean, selling the building, leasing the building, it doesn't even make any sense. Like, who in their right mind buys that building and doesn't immediately kick CNN the fuck out of it?
Yeah.
Oh, hey, we're coming up on the 8 o'clock.
Correct.
Yeah. Don Lemon.
Oh, God. Yeah, well, we didn't get there. We didn't really get to it. But, yeah, I mean, you look at the last couple of years of CNN, there have been reports of them having to lay off lots and lots of people. And, guys, part of what's killing CNN, it's not just that they're terrible, evil people, but they also have Don Lemon. And, well, we're talking about the credibly accused sexual assaulter who thought that microscopic black holes swallowed the Malaysian air flight. And
oh my God.
In a desperate attempt to get some attention on his show, just a month or two ago, pulled this ridiculous publicity stunt where he announced on a Friday evening that he was leaving CNN and there would be big changes, and I love you and thank you so much for watching all this time. And then literally on Monday evening in the same time slot with the same set, you've got Don Lemon come back, and they changed the name from, what was it? They changed it from
The Tonight Show with Don Lemon.
Yeah, The Tonight Show with Don Lemon to Don Lemon Tonight. Like, yeah, big changes. That's, wow.
Hey, so, just to send it off on a humorous note, which theory is more stupid? The microscopic black holes crash the plane, or that if you put too many soldiers on one side of Guam, the island might tip over?
Did you see Steve's comment?
No, but see, there you go.
Steve Rodemeyer just asked, "Is Lemon kin to Hank Johnson?" And before you said what you just said, I was just about to give Lemon just a little bit of credit and say, "No, Steve, I don't think Don is quite that dumb. Not quite. He's just ever so slightly less stupid than Hank. Guam is going to tip over Johnson."
Anyhow, that's me, buddy. I have to go back to making donuts.
All right, brother. I will talk to you later. And for the rest of you, I love you, and I appreciate you watching. We will see you, Tomorrow's Thursday. I will see you tomorrow. Y'all be safe out there.